Hello and welcome to the Gaming News Roundup. My name is Amata and I'm going to give you all the latest in gaming as of the 26th of March 2012. The first details about how Assassin's Creed 3 will play on the Wii U have just been released. Now basically this is all obviously focusing on how the touchscreen controller is going to be used in-game. Now basically the controller will basically serve as a link to the Animus, which is obviously the piece of tech that allows Desmond to communicate with the memories of his ancestors. And it could also serve as a map and a nav tool, potentially allowing the game to not have a heads-up display on the actual screen and have it display on the controller instead, which obviously could be very interesting. And also it will also serve as a kind of encyclopedia, providing biographies of the many historical characters that the game has in it, and any pertinent details, maybe even how visible you are and stuff like that could be on there as well. I'm not really sure. Will also be used to let the player select weapons and turn on eagle vision and even control the camera as well. So it sounds like Assassin's Creed 3 is going to be making very good use of the Wii U controller. And I quite like that actually, you know. One of a lot of people's problems with the Wii is that the sort of waggle mechanics and stuff like that weren't really used all that well. They were just kind of tacked on a lot of the time, but the good Wii games used them very effectively. Now this sounds like the same sort of thing in that it's being integrated very well into the core of the game. I mean, if the heads-up display and the eagle vision and things like that are accessible for the controller, then you know it's going to be a vital part of the experience to use the touchscreen as well as the actual inputs to control the character. So it could be very interesting and maybe give a nice sense of flow to the game as well. Although, if it were me, I would also put an option for the heads-up display to show on the main screen if the player wants it, because the only thing that might get a little irritating is having to look down at the controller to view your health and stuff like that. That's my only real worry about it, but I actually quite like the sound of this. As I said, I quite like it when developers actually use things like this properly and make the game and the platform better by utilising it efficiently. So I'm quite pleased by this actually, and I look forward to hearing more about it. Starbreeze have announced some new details on their next game, which is going to be Cold Mercury. Now basically they're going to be adopting the freemium model for this next project, which is of course the model where a game is free to play but you have to pay extra for unlocks and stuff like that, basically functioning on microtransactions and things like that. A lot of games have been functioning like this, like League of Legends and HON and stuff like that, so you know, interesting choice. But they have said, although they're doing this and downsizing their studio as well, they are not stepping away from AAA game development. Now I'm going to quote directly here. He says, "Starbreeze will not leave the AAA segment. We're discussing with several leading game publishers on publisher-financed games, but we will broaden our product portfolio of games and new business models and segments that have arisen in the games industry. I'm convinced that Starbreeze will be successful with the new games." So yeah, it's an interesting decision. It seems like this is kind of in response to everything that happened with Syndicate, so we'll have to see how it goes for them. As to my opinion on it, I think it's a good decision. If they didn't do too well with Syndicate, then it makes perfect sense for them to do the whole freemium thing. I mean, I'm not really sure how that would work with a full-on AAA title, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. I mean, if they're doing it with this one, it's probably not going to be AAA itself. That's not really what they said. They just said they're not stepping away from AAA development, which means, although, to me it means anyway, that although they're doing the freemium thing for Cold Mercury, they're still going to be releasing AAA titles other than that. That's probably what they mean, because the AAA title just couldn't really work as freemium, in my opinion. But I could be wrong. You know, if someone wants to prove me wrong, then, you know, feel free. Send me a link or something. But yeah, it's an interesting decision, and I'll be eagerly awaiting some details to see how this pans out for them. The final piece of news today is that the UK retailer Game has finally bit the dust and has officially gone into administration. Also, the CEO Ian Shepherd has also stepped down, basically saying that now that they've officially appointed an administrator, there's no point in him being there anymore, as it's confusing and a waste of money to have two people trying to run a business, which makes perfect sense. Plus, I don't really blame him for not wanting to go down with the ship. Because, as well as that, they've issued a statement on their Facebook page saying that you cannot redeem any reward or gift cards. Basically, I think you can still, like, if you want to buy and trade a game in any of the stores that are actually still open, because obviously they've begun closing stores and stuff like that. You can still earn points for your reward card, and stuff like that, but you cannot redeem them at the moment. And if you have a gift card from a friend or something like that, then basically those points, that money on there, is not worth anything. You cannot redeem it for anything. Now, it's unclear whether or not this will change if a buyer steps in, but it seems like anyone who has money on a gift card has essentially lost it. You also cannot trade in hardware or pre-owned games for cash, although you can still trade them in for other games, as I mentioned earlier. And also, as the final piece of news here, pre-orders for new titles that aren't out yet are no longer being taken, and any existing pre-orders cannot be refunded. So basically, anyone who had not yet got around to cancelling a pre-order with Game or GameStation is basically screwed. Now, I'm sure most people who knew about this news have already gone ahead and cancelled any pre-orders that they had with them as soon as they heard this news, because I've said from the beginning that it did not look well for them, and I would be very surprised if they were able to pull themselves out of this one. So there's probably not too many people being affected by the whole pre-order thing, at least I hope not, because I would be pissed if that was me. But I would imagine that people in the know, at least, would have cancelled any pre-orders. The people that probably will hit is the parents or younger kids or something like that may not know about this kind of thing, so they weren't aware of what was happening and didn't know that they should probably cancel the pre-order and spend any reward points they might have. So yeah, not good at all. They're pretty much done, and I'm really saddened by this. My thoughts are with all the people that have lost their jobs. I've said from the beginning that this was not going to go well for them, that they really couldn't pull out of it, and I hoped to be wrong, but it looks like I was right, and it wasn't any amazing call on my part. It seemed pretty clear to anyone that they were done. Something may happen at the last minute, but I really doubt it, and that's such a shame. Anyway, that's it for them and this video. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again soon.